Our top story, the Iranian president's proposal for a global campaign against violence and extremism has been approved by the United Nations. Iran's UN ambassador Mohammad Khazai said the UN General Assembly approved unanimously the draft resolution put forth by Iran for a world against violence and extremism known as WAVE. He also noted that the resolution is aimed at promoting global interactions to eradicate violence across the world. Iranian diplomats have for months been negotiating with other UN members to finalize the draft document. In his speech to the UN General Assembly earlier this year, President Rouhani said that the world should unite against violence and extremism. Joining us now live from Indiana is E. Michael Jones, editor of Culture Wars Online magazine. Mr. Jones, thank you for being with us. How would you describe violence and extremism? When we think about extremism, a lot of the mainstream media, how they are talking about it is Al-Qaeda or Islamic extremists, radical Muslims, etc. But is that the proper way to describe extremism? And President Rouhani saying there that we need a global campaign against extremism and violence. How do you think this threat should be dealt with?
I think this is good news because I think it reaffirms the realignment that started to take place in world politics beginning in September, when the United States decided not to attack Syria. I think there is certainly there is an element of violent extremism among Islamic groups, and I think this is a way of pinpointing just exactly who is involved in this violence. We're talking about the Wahhabism. We're talking about the Salafists, the people who were backed by the United States and Israel in Syria. So I think this is a way of pointing to who's involved and to making an alliance between people of goodwill in the world that is happening at the same time. I think that Russia is making advances in promoting world peace and a new world order in its area of influence.
So you refer there to Wahhabism and Salafism. We know a lot has been said about groups that are affiliated to these two, we could say, beliefs or whatever you may call them. But the main question here is who is backing them and who is responsible for the creation of these groups and for the activities that are taking place, under the name of Islam.
Well, nobody's backing Wahhabism. I mean, the Saudis are Wahhabis. And the Wahhabis have made an alliance with Israel. Now, Prince Bandar bin Sultan came to the United States. He wants to raise $6 billion to continue the war in Syria. So Wahhabism is one of these extremist groups that needs to be pointed out. It needs to be rejected by decent people throughout the world. And we need an alliance of the people who are interested in peace. And I think that the acceptance of the Iranian president as proposal by the United Nations is an indication that the world body sees the Shia as interested in peace and a responsible group of people who can lead to world peace.
And quickly before we let you go, Mr. Jones, looking at the situation in Syria, we know that groups that are fighting there, the majority of them have been specified as being linked to Al-Qaeda, to extremist groups, and there's a lot being said about how the world should treat these groups, because we know these groups are still getting aid. Those who are fighting against the Syrian government, they're still getting financial support, military support. There was a controversy created when the U.S. Secretary of State said that the United States may start talking with the Islamic Front, which was also seen as affiliated with Al-Qaeda.
Well, they are working with Al-Qaeda. The United States is working with these people, and they can't make up their mind whether they want to continue to work with them. John Kerry, when he became Secretary of State, said, we're not going to give any heavy weapons to these people because we can't trust them. So, yeah, they got to make up their mind. And I think that what happened here over the fall is that Obama has decided that diplomacy, that war backing those groups of extremists, the Wahhabi-backed extremists in Syria, is going nowhere. It's not in America's interest. It's certainly not in Israel's interest. And so they took another a path, and that's precisely what got Prince Bandar bin Sultan upset. And he wants to resurrect this war, but I just don't see it going anywhere. I mean, we have to, let's face it, Wahhabism is a form of extremism, and it is dangerous. It's causing people to die right now in Syria. So it needs to be exposed as such, and we need people of goodwill to turn away from that and turn toward peace.
E. Michael Jones, editor of Culture Wars online magazine, with us live from Indiana. Thank you very much.